We've been talking a lot about AI and how AI is changing the way that people start their careers. For sure, this has been a trend topic in the market. I mean, AI changing careers is, of course, something that sparkles panic. People get crazy when they hear any kind of headline saying that AI is changing the way that jobs are going to 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 work, how things are going to play when it comes to finding a job, how people are maybe going to be laid off because of AI. So those things, they bring a lot of panic, and therefore they call attention for clicks, and therefore there's a lot of hype around the topic AI and job in general, I mean. But there is one specifically that calls my attention very much because the data is showing that for sure something is changing. But it doesn't mean that people are being replaced or that we are saying that jobs are going to disappear somehow. I'm talking really about a transformation. And here is specifically a transformation on how people start their careers. Now, in June 2026, we had a big analysis from PwC with more than 1 billion job postings across 27 countries. It's a big analysis. That's the kind of data that I enjoy bringing more because it's broad, it's general, it's not focusing on a specific market or culture. This is like billions of job postings in many different countries, and they're trying to understand what is changing the way that company are promoting or the expectations for the different job posting over the time. They're doing this kind of research every year for some time. And of course we have the narrative that AI is going to eliminate entry level jobs, and we already discussed a lot about the narrative and the fact. And what we see for sure, if you don't remember, is that something it's being transformed in the way that people start their careers, so the entry level jobs is changing, but it's not in the panic way. It's not like things are being eliminated or positions are being eliminated. They are just changing. And I'm careful with the word just here because just changing in this case, it's a big change for sure. What we see from the data is that, and and maybe this is more unsettling, even, like, AI did not eliminate the entry level job, but is changing and making it more complex and maybe more demanding. We can even say that junior roles are somehow becoming more like senior if we compare to job posting from a few years ago. Um, to be able to understand that, let's step back here on the facts and discuss how it always worked. Basically, people always found their first job and developed themselves in a very similar way. They go to a position that is less like business risky for the company, so it's a position that someone can be trained. It's more repetitive. It's more somehow simple, if I may say that. And from some aspect, what is expected from you, it's normally more technical, connected to what you can do. That's why I'm saying repetitive. It's not expected that you're going to lead something or have decision making coming on your way and expect you to judge and decide. Overall, that was how or careers developed over time. For many years it worked like that, okay, with some difference depend of the industry, of course. I cannot say it's the same for doctors. I cannot say the same for different industries, but in general it is like that. So the volume, the repetition, that was like the ramp and the connection between someone living is finishing their studies and starting in the job market. And that work always served as learning. It was a learning for a person who is starting the business to learn about how the business work, how the company work, how the culture plays, how things work in general and working with different people, how the interaction is going to demand you and your communication skills. So that was in general the role. And that is exactly the role that is changing right now. The PwC AI Jobs Barometer, a very interesting study, which is the one that I just mentioned about the more than 1 billion job posting, they are showing that the entry level roles now with AI, they are being more automated. And here I want to be careful because automation is not happening only because of AI. We have automation for many, many years in many different industries. Automation, to automate something and make it faster, you don't need specifically AI. But now with AI, automation is becoming faster. You understand what I mean here, right? So the exposure on that is making some soft skills, not that soft, I would say, being required even from those entry level positions, because now the technical thing, the repetitive thing that you're supposed to do before, that is automated. And from you joining the company, even though you are joining a junior role, companies are starting to expect some things like judgment, leadership, strategic decision making, stakeholder management. Those words, those skills are being more required now in junior and entry level roles, something that was never seen in the past. And this is of course something that it's it's really connected. The study, the more you read, the more you go deep into that, you can see that it's connected because of the AI transformations we are seeing. And that's why I'm also, if you see in my tone, I'm so careful when I connect the things here because the data is showing, it's not an opinion, it is showing that things are being transformed. The jobs, that career are being transformed. But it does not mean that something is being, cutted, or that something is being removed. The word is transformed. The word is transformation, not elimination. Job job openings in general, according to this study, it's showing that something is being more expected from those entry level positions. Okay, that we already understood. But the reflection, or of course the main thinking here, is how other things are going to follow that. How is the preparation, the study, the university going to follow that to prepare people from what the market is expecting right now? We have a good comment from Dan Priest. He's the Chief AI Officer from PwC, so responsible, one of the responsible in the company for the data being analyzed in this report. And he said something that is quite interesting. If, and I'm quoting here from the report, if AI changed the first rung of career ladder, or basically changing the first step that you're going to jump in your career, companies, educators, and governments all have some responsibility here to redesign pathways into work, not just to redesign the work itself. I, I think that summarizes very well the main reflection I want to bring always on this topic and why I've been thinking a lot on this. I'm from Brazil, and I don't know how it plays in different countries, but in Brazil, we have, depending on the state, good development programs for people who want to start their careers. And this is something, of course, that is responsibility of the person to go to those programs and find an opportunity. But they exist and they are there with very good ambitions to help someone with everything else that is related to finding a job that is other than finding the job itself. The preparation for the interview, the preparation of how you're going to communicate with your peers, what is going to happen when you start working, how you can expose yourself in a good way, how you're going to talk with your, in the hierarchy, how you're going to communicate with the different levels. All those things are related to find a new job that is not related to the technical thing itself. They are important. And the more I create content, the more I talk about this, the more I also feel the responsibility to share with you that this concern should be raised in many different perspectives. I know one of the reflections I usually make when I'm thinking about preparing someone to start in their first job, it's about the connection, or in this case, the disconnection that we have between the job market, or here you can think in general, the enterprise world, the business world, the universities here who are preparing, like the classroom university side, preparing people to start working, and the university on the innovation and research side. So you have research here, more like a properly research from the university. You have the university classroom with the teachers preparing people to go to the job market, and of course, in some countries they are more connected. I think US has a way of connecting university and companies. That's, I don't have an opinion because I never lived in that in that environment, but seems to work somehow depending on the state and depending on the business relationship between the companies and the universities. But in general, around the world, we know that we have a gap between those entities, right? The different in times between of what the marketing is expecting, what the university are preparing the students, and even how fast the universities can react to what the market is expecting. Because again, I respect a lot. I think I do not have enough words to say how much I respect the work of the professor, like the teacher in front of the classroom, who is translating all the content, preparing people to what the job market is expecting. At the same time, they need to focus on all like the curriculum and what should be, the pathway of the studies for that classroom. So it's a lot. I know it's a lot. So it's not a criticism per se, but a call for reflection. And I want to call you also to reflect with me here in the comments. What do you think there are good examples and bad examples, good and bad cases on how universities, companies, governments, how everything can walk in the right direction to fill this gap and support people who are trying to find their first job. And if you are one of the people trying to find your first job, the question to you is, how are you preparing in the middle of this chaotic environment? I want to know, because in the end, you are still the one responsible for your career, but you are also the one who is going to suffer if things are just keep changing without any kind of preparation for you, and the preparation for how you can be prepared. I know it doesn't make that many sense, but in the end, if you don't know even how you should, what you should prepare and how you should prepare yourself to your first role, to face the job market for the first time, I know it's going to be a challenge to even organize your energy and understand what are the things you should put attention or not. And with that, I want to call you again in the reflection to bring good cases and bad cases, good and bad examples on how you are filling this gap on finding your first job.